Just do. We're just going to continue because it's important. What we want to give people, we want to give people a feel of, from the young people's point of view, from a parish point of view, from the peer education. We're just going to have two other little talks before we stop then, have a cup of tea and people can get a chance to mingle. What happens, I suppose, we're going to look at two other things before we have a cup of tea. One is what happens from a diocesan point of view. So from a diocesan point of view, what can a diocese do? Is it possible that a diocese can intervene? And we have representatives, and I call upon Anne. Anne is from Down and Connor Diocese, and she'll tell you a little bit about how they got together, and although they're fairly new to it, but they're going to explain just briefly what a diocese can do.
Okay, good morning everybody. As John said, my name is Mc Dermot. I've come down this morning from Belfast with my colleague Martin Bradley. Martin and I are part of what we call a diocesan advisory group. And I just, as John said, we're not very long in existence, and I'm very glad of the opportunity just to talk through how we came to be and what we think we're about. Just before we start, if you just notice the logos at the start of the presentation, that sort of pulls it all together for us. We are part of affiliated to the Irish Bishops' Conference, obviously. We've got our Down and Connor logo up there, and we have our IBDI logo at the bottom. And the other one at the top is the logo of our public health agency. And as a diocesan group, we're very grateful to the Public Health Agency in Northern Ireland because they have given us a tremendous amount of support over the last 2 years. Down in Connor, you probably know, is in Northern Ireland, and it's that northeastern bit of Northern Ireland. It covers the counties of Antrim and Down, and it runs from Portstewart in the north, up along the Causeway Coast there, right down to Kilkeel in the south and the mountains of Mourne. I read somewhere that it's the second largest diocese in Ireland in terms of the geography of it. And some statistics there just to give you a sense of how big we are and how many parishes we're dealing with. There are 87 parishes in Down and Connor, 115 priests at the moment, 157 primary schools, 36 post-primary schools. And you know, as we move into post-primary education, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to deal with in terms of logistics and figures. Each year there would be over 5,000 baptisms in Down and Connor, 4,000 First Communions, and very important to us in the work that we're trying to promote would be those 4,500 confirmations every year. So how did we get to be here? Bishop Traynor approached a very small group of people, about 4 of us, in March 2011, and simply said, find out what you can about the Irish Bishops' Drugs Initiative and set something up here in Down and Connor. So that was our original brief. We knew absolutely nothing about the Irish Bishops' Drugs Initiative. So the first thing I remember doing actually was going onto the website and coming across the work that John is doing, which was a revelation to us. You may be asking, how did I end up on a small core group to promote this kind of work? And I frequently ask myself that question still. The reason is very simple. I have a background in education. I had recently retired, and over a cup of coffee I happened to say to my parish priest one evening, you know, Father, I'm retiring now, so if there are any wee jobs need doing, I'm quite happy to help out. The next thing was I got a phone call from the Bishop's office saying we have a wee job for you, so that's how I got here. I have no background at all in relation to substance misuse, but I must say over the last 2 years I've learned quite a bit. A small core of us sat down to think, well, what does the Bishop want us to do here really? And we thought we better get some people around this table who actually know something about this. So we sort of hands on shoulders, we just approached people from a health background. So we have 1 or 2 health professionals on our group. people from an education background. We have representatives from our Down O'Connor Youth Service. We have some people around the table who are involved in drugs and alcohol outreach work, not necessarily in parishes, I have to say. And we also have people around the table who work with the homeless. We also thought it would be important to have, from time to time, access to our policing and justice system. So we identified a number of willing and interested people and got them around the table and thought that we said the bishop has asked us to do this, so let's see what it is we're trying to do here. The first thing we did was we went out to our 87 parishes, to our parish priests, and said, look, tell us how it is for you. Is substance misuse a real issue for you in your parish? And if it is, can you tell us about some of the things that are going on? And also from a parish priest point of view, is there anything you think the diocese ought to be doing to support you in this work? So that went out in the form of a questionnaire, and we got a reasonable response, not a huge response. The big message coming through from our parish priests, and I know this won't surprise you at all, was, well, yes, actually it's becoming a growing issue for us in our parishes, but please, don't be asking me as a parish priest to do anything about it because I have enough on my plate. That will sound familiar, and we weren't surprised by that response at all. We gathered from that questionnaire, we identified parishes where little things were happening around substance misuse, and we invited those people to come and meet and talk to us about what they were doing, and we did that in November 2011. And with that and with the responses from our parish priests, we started to put our strategy together. And it really was literally starting with a blank sheet of paper, and you know how daunting that can be. But we thought, right, what we need to do here, how can we help our parishes in Down O'Connor from a diocesan point of view? And we put a paper together and sent it back into the bishop's office for his ratification. So what is it that we're trying to achieve as a diocesan advisory group? We're certainly not frontline practitioners. We're not out there doing it on the ground. But as a diocesan agency, I suppose we come together to try to do what we can to support our parishes with this particular issue of substance misuse. We put together what we call a vision statement. We did it 2 years ago when we didn't really know what we were in business for. 2 years down the line, we're at the stage now where we need to come back to this. We need to look at this vision again, and we need to look at our strategy again and make sure that it is fit for purpose now that we know a little bit more about our diocese and about the needs within our diocese. When we thought about, well, what is it we're trying to do here, and up front and up foremost was this notion of sharing information. We were pleasantly surprised at the number of small things that are happening across our diocese, but the disappointing thing is that nobody else seems to know anything about them. Lots of good work going on in little pockets, but that is not being disseminated. So we felt there was an important role for a diocesan group to find out what's happening across the diocese and start to find ways of sharing that information. So we were doing that in a number of different ways, and we send out regular updates to each parish priest through the bishop's office. We send out information, a sort of an information update, and we try to keep substance misuse on the agenda for our parish priests. As John has referred to, we do a lot of signposting, and we were so delighted to get funding from the Public Health Agency to produce our little booklet, our signpost booklet. There are copies of it down there on the table at the back, and you're more than welcome to take one of those away with you. And I know that we have come to an agreement with the National Executive of IBDI that little booklet can be taken and can be reproduced for any communities in the south of Ireland. You just need to change some of the signposting information inside it. that little booklet has gone out to every parish. Each parish got about 200 copies of the booklet. So when you go into our churches across Down and Connor, hopefully you'll see the little booklet down at the back somewhere. Hopefully people are lifting it and looking at it. And it is becoming, we are getting feedback that it is being recognised now, and people are certainly very grateful to have that resource. I've said that we are working as much as we can with our statutory agencies in Northern Ireland, and we're getting a lot of support from them, and also other voluntary agencies throughout Down and Connor, particularly the Pioneers, St Vincent de Paul, the Welcome organisation that looks after homeless people and so on. We are looking at what is already available out there across our diocese and finding ways of, as I've said already, of disseminating information and resources across the diocese. And we also see a role for ourselves in terms of education and training. Not that we're going out to do it ourselves, but pulling together information from other providers and other trainers and making that information available to our parishes. Now that was all well and good as a strategy. It seemed perfectly reasonable. The difficulty with any diocesan commission or diocesan organisation is that it's very easy to become isolated in your own little bubble. There are diocesan commissions and agencies working away there across Down and Connor, and an awful lot of people know absolutely nothing about them. We realised early on that as a diocesan strategic group, we needed to be very aware of who else was out there in the diocese and what they were doing, whether it was in terms of family support or the youth commission or whatever else was out there. We felt that the only way we were going to make things happen was if we joined up with other diocesan organisations, made them aware that we're here and that we have some information and some expertise that we can share, and we can mutually support each other in our work. But it was very interesting. I don't know whether the Holy Spirit is at work here or not, but just as we were trying to get ourselves up and running, Bishop Traynor instigated what he called a listening process across our diocese. This was in 2011. And it was quite a courageous decision to take. What it meant was going out into our parishes, bringing people together and asking them about the state of the church. What do you think about our church? What do you think about our diocese? What's going well? What are our difficulties at the minute, and what can we do as a diocese to move forward? That process started in 2011, and it has culminated in the creation of a diocesan pastoral council and a diocesan pastoral plan. And this is actually quite exciting because suddenly, as a diocesan committee, we could see where we might fit into the greater picture across the diocese. And we felt very strongly that if we could get substance misuse as an item on the diocesan agenda and get it linked in there to the diocesan themes, the pastoral themes, then that would provide an impetus for our work, and it would give a credibility to our work, and it could actually provide some resources for our work. So we're absolutely delighted at the moment that in Down and Connor things are moving forward at some speed, I have to say. We now have our diocesan pastoral plan with 5 big pastoral themes in it. One of those themes is an open and welcoming church. And we see that perhaps the work that we want to promote could fit very nicely into open and welcoming church, in terms of reaching out to those who feel isolated or those who feel that there's no place for them in our church. There's another big theme in the plan which is around passing on the faith, and that's looking at children's liturgy and youth faith development. And again, we can see a place for us in there if we can use that pastoral theme of passing on the faith to start pushing forward some of the ideas and the hopes and aspirations that we have around substance misuse. So that's all quite exciting for us at the moment, and as I've said, we're beginning now to find our place as a diocesan committee, and we're starting then to build up our networks and our relationships across the diocese. So where next for us then? As I've said, we need to make sure that our strategy around drug and alcohol misuse is incorporated within the diocesan pastoral plan. We need to continue linking with other diocesan commissions, for example, the Living Youth Commission and the Family Life Forum, because that's where we fit, that's where our business will be. In terms of passing on the faith, the diocesan pastoral plan refers to the GIFT programme, Growing in Faith Together. It's a faith development programme for post-primary pupils, but it's not done in school. It will be done at parish level by parish volunteers. So what we're hoping to do then, that they would be our 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. We're going to work with the Youth Commission to introduce modules around substance misuse into the GIFT programme, and that way we'll get our messages, hopefully, into projects at parish level. And we're also looking at how we can incorporate some of these big messages too within the John Paul II Award. And I know that some of that work is already going on in the south of Ireland. We want to develop our web. We don't have a website yet, but what we want to do is create a web page that will link Down and Connor into IBDI in Maynooth, and also will link IBDI in Down and Connor into our Down and Connor diocesan website. And then pushing our work out into parishes. I suppose ultimately what we want to see are lots of little projects like the ones we're hearing about today, developing across Down and Connor. So we need to build up a database of what's happening out there, who are the parish contacts, and we're going to do what we can to encourage our parishes to register with IBDI in Maynooth. And as a diocesan agency, we're working hard now to formalise our arrangement with Maynooth, so that we can access the resources that you have here, and where and when it's possible, the National Executive can access the resources that we're creating in Down and Connor. So that's where we are. Thank you very much for your time.